Alright, you guys can hear why I'm freaking out because MMA is lifting to the gold. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a best of one, and this is a really ballsy move, but he's going to do it versus a Zerg player known as Revolver, the yellow top right, whatever. Sorry, I can't even do introductions because over here, not in the top left, but more towards the central portion of the map, it's going to be the red Terran player, MMA. Now this is really cool for a multitude of reasons. One is you guys, if you've seen me cast before, you know I've been nerding out about someone doing this effectively on this map. Tasia has tried to do this before in the past, but unfortunately failed pretty miserably at it. I'm really hoping MMA can pull something out crazy versus Revolver. This will be pretty cool if he can. Now there's a couple of options of what you can do when you go for gold this early. Why do I not have game sounds on? There we go. I'm sorry about that. I must hit Control S by mistake during the intro. Anyways, so if you decide to go for something like earlier Raxes, the nice thing about this is you do well, let's be honest, you get to pump out a lot early and fast. Now, the downside to this is with the Overlord Scout coming, Revolver's going to know what's up. I mean, it's pretty typical to just send Overlord across the map anyways to scout in the first place. But he is going to scout this. So the question for Revolver right now is, does he try and take a natural? Now, there are some certain players who are going to say just straight up no. Not going to waste my time unless one basis. He doesn't have a lot going for him. An early Baneling bust will do him in. And sometimes that's going to be the case. There was a little bit of a Reddit war not too long ago, if you guys remember, and let's be honest, it was fun to watch. It was like Fenner and someone else talk about like the best ways to wall off on this map and how to beat them. And while a lot of it was kind of joking satire and sarcasm, the reality is there's actually quite a few ways you can handle this differently. MMA's opted to actually try and create more of a wall off connected to the command center, though I think there's still a spot there to squeeze by. But this means Lings can't simply run into his base and end his life. Now that being said, Revolver's actually going to go for that slightly earlier pull than a 15 because he did take the natural base. But as far as punishing MMA, this is not going to be the easiest thing in the world to do. I wish Revolver a lot of luck, but the problem is if you let MMA get away with this, where does MMA expand to? Oh right, to his natural, and then back towards his main. Like the safest bases on the map he could possibly expand to later on. So for now he's going to be okay. We'll probably get a spot, maybe a bunker if he gets desperate. He is sending an SV out to scout, so he knows what's going on. But look at the income difference, guys. The gold base is phenomenal as far as this goes. Because right now, MMA might not have the craziest income in the world, but he doesn't have to rely on mules. And he's got a significant, well, it sounds weird to say significantly, but 3 workers, well, 4 workers because of the scout, less this early on. That gold base is going to pay off quite nicely. And as we see, barracks are already producing a ton of Marines. There are some Zerglings coming out. He's got to be careful he doesn't get too aggressive. I kind of would have liked to have seen MMA, maybe not in the same fashion of an 11-11 racks, but you can fully wall off this ramp. You can put 3 bunkers down and completely shut down Zerglings, anything from getting by it. But, boy, oh boy. Okay, a couple Zerglings going to come out. MMA does have to be very careful. If he gets too aggressive, if he gets too overzealous, he can lose his force very quickly. And once that Spine Crawler is done, his pushing power up the ramp is pretty much limited. So the goal for MMA right now would have ideally been to get up here, get past all this, and perhaps do something at the ramp. But, oh, these Marines caught in the middle of the map. This is very awkward for him. We'll just kind of stutter step around, get a bit of kills here before he goes down, but he's not out of the game from this. He's going to take quite a few Zerglings with him, and the ones that don't die are going to be incredibly low, so any sort of follow-ups out of the question, and only MMA can make this few Marines work so well versus this many Zerglings. He is actually going to get 1, 2 more kills. What? 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 Okay, MMA handled that fantastically. Normally 9 Zerglings would just wreck Marines like that, but now MMA is actually in a pretty good spot. Revolver just threw away a lot of Lings, which normally wouldn't be that big of a deal, but worth noting, guys, this early, there was a drone production cut. He doesn't have this crazy income Revolver that he would normally love to have, and I actually have those names wrong. There we go, swap this around. But now throwing down some gases, I guess going to try and get some metabolic boost out. The Spine Crawler will keep him safe for a while, but it's limited, because once you start producing like 12 Marines at a time, you know, eventually you're going to just bully past through that Spine Crawler. But we got a factory, we got a barracks coming out here, very exposed and in the open. MMA putting a barracks right on the front line, because I think what he's planning to do is not use this for production, but lift it up in the air and use it for high ground vision. And if that's going to be the case, oh, MMA, you are just the coolest kid on the playground is what that's going to mean. Now, as far as Revolver is concerned, he's got Roaches coming out, which isn't a terrible plan, I guess, but the reality is Roaches versus Bio has never really been a good strategy in the first place. And a big part of that's because of how powerful Stim is. But this is a scenario where MMA doesn't have Stim. It's not even on the way. Hell, I don't think even as a tech lab. Okay, my bad, he actually just got one, but he's going for combat shields first. Okay, this is so weird, and I can't even, but this is so cool. And okay, I'm wrong. He's not going to use it for lifting up and using awesome high ground vision. He is just going to produce from it. So, do you guys remember Fuser? He's been gone from the scene professionally for some time, but this is kind of reminding me of like some Fuser gameplay, just the weirdness of it. I mean, for what Revolver can do is once those roaches are out, he can just push past the Marine Force, or try to if he's got speed, but he doesn't have a lair yet, so he's so limited on what he can do. Those roaches will not outrun these Marines. There's way too many of them for him to contend with head on. And MMA's even got a siege tank out. Oh my goodness, when did that happen? So he's got a siege tank ready to deal with this. And okay, it is going to be the high ground vision, so just a little bit delayed. But pokes away at the roaches. They're going to try and engage into this. That's a mistake. There's a siege tank here. That spine collar will eventually go down, and that'll allow the Marines to start pushing a little more effectively. He's got a second siege tank on the way. He's got a bunker for safety. He's got an SCV here to repair, and a barracks for high ground vision. This is an awesome form of aggression that I am a big fan of, but because if MMA loses his army, guys, this is what's so desperate. There's no trading at this point. It's kind of all in. If you lose your army, your base is certainly going to fall afterwards, and MMA is not even looking to expand. So these gold minerals, which are mining out significantly faster, could be a problem if Revolver can stalemate this for a little bit. But that's not going to be the case. Queen's going to go down to the Marine fire. Tanks shelling away. Those combat shields are fantastic for giving the Marines that extra health they need to take some hits. But roaches don't fare well versus tanks, and we all know this. Siege tanks doing what they can to keep these back, and the Marine fire is just a little bit too good. Now, unfortunately, Revolver's starting to bleed out his units, but he's taking out a lot of the Marines. But there's still more behind it is the problem, and a third siege tank on the way. I think this game is pretty much over for Revolver, and I give props to MMA because I've seen several players try and do this sort of lift off to the gold versus Zerg. And like I said before, even great players like Tasia have failed to make this work in the past. But MMA is kicking some ass right now versus Revolver. And honestly, this was a pretty cool build. Banelings are coming out, but I feel it's kind of one of those things that's a little too late. The siege tanks can focus fire these down, and MMA is one of the players who will do precisely that. There's no speed associated with these, and there's even a medevac just scouting around right now to see what's up. I think MMA knows he's in a pretty good spot. Now, if he does lose all of his Marines to the Banelings, the Zerglings will actually deal with the siege tanks. There's 20 coming out, and there's only 3 siege tanks, but again, like I said, as long as MMA focus fires on the Banelings, these Marines should never die. He's already spread them out. Look at him chilling in the back, making sure he doesn't take any danger from this. He sees the Banelings falling out right thanks to the barracks, and looks like he is going to actually focus fire down on the Banelings with the siege tank fire. Really well handled here out of MMA, but looks like Revolver might just have a little too much. Oh no, I take that back. It got exciting for a moment, but good game is going to be called. I thought, oh, if those Banelings could have connected, there only would have been like the 1 siege tank left. But nope. GG. MMA.